I want to take this down a different direction. You mentioned your time at the beginning of your career at Stanford. One of the people at Stanford who I've really enjoyed his writing has been Jeff Cohen. And
Sure.
Jeff does a lot of work on belonging.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to interview Jeff yet. I've reached out to him, but we've had deep conversations on the show with guests like Dr. Julianne Holt-Lunstad, who is an expert on loneliness, and Dr. Dacher Keltner at Berkeley,
Mm.
both of them about how human connection is fundamental to our well being and our sense of overall mattering or belonging, as Jeff calls it.
Yeah.
And your book, Tribal, explores how our cultural instincts, our need to belong, to emulate heroes, and to honor traditions shape our behavior. In the world today where loneliness, mental health, disconnection, all these things are on the rise, how do you harness these tribal instincts to foster a deeper sense of belonging or mattering in our lives and communities?
It's an important question, and one that I had more chapters about that ultimately my editors said the book was getting too long, so it didn't end up being featured very much in the book. But the research on happiness, when people started to try to objectively measure happiness and well-being, the things that they focused on early on correspond to what we would call hedonistic happiness, like how much joy and excitement and pleasure do you have in your life. And there was this reductionist tendency to say, okay, this is what happiness or well-being is. And then they would have findings that were a bit counterintuitive. Like it would be found that people without children are more happy than people with children. But that doesn't seem to capture the fullness of what it's like to either not have kids or have kids. And then people realize there's not just one dimension of happiness. There's a hedonistic happiness, which might be the amount of joy and pleasure. But then there's what the Greeks called eudaimonic happiness, which is the sense of meaning that comes from fulfilling your role within a larger community or tradition or profession. And a lot of that involves what we might call meaningful drudgery, changing diapers of your children. For me, grading papers at the university. For you, probably lots of meetings to create buy-in about a new IT system when you were a CIO. These things are, it's wearying. But if we believe in our role and we believe in the institution that we are representing, the drudgery can be meaningful drudgery, and it's a deep and lasting kind of meaning and well-being. And some people would say, okay, there's a third dimension of a happiness, which has to do with having a rich and varied experience, even if some of that experience is unpleasant, like having a life where you take risks and you have setbacks and then you have recoveries. So happiness and well-being, human connection comes in these different flavors. And I think my book speaks a lot to why we are motivated to feel rewarded by meshing with other people, why we are motivated to emulate those who are respected in our community, and why we are motivated to perpetuate traditions, even traditions that may not be serving a useful function. It's a funny thing about the ancestor instinct that it's almost agnostic about, is this age old practice useful? But I argue in the book that it evolved that way for a reason, which is that it keeps alive ideas and practices that may not be needed every generation. In a lot of Asia, tsunamis are a big problem, but in some places, tsunamis may only occur every 50 years or every 80 years. And so many generations will not experience a disastrous tsunami. But a lot of the indigenous people there, they have traditions of song and dance and wood carving and boat building that are all very intimately tied to their knowledge of tsunamis. And because these things have become traditions that people keep alive, even if they don't seem useful, the knowledge perpetuates so that it's there when it's needed. When the giant tsunami happened in 2006 and hundreds of thousands of people died, some of these indigenous groups who live right on the water, who live on boats, they saw the wave patterns indicative of a tsunami early on, and they went to land and they went up the hills and took cover and they didn't lose any people. Whereas these supposedly more knowledgeable communities, the more modern communities, did not see the tsunami coming. So the ancestor instinct is a funny thing. It leads people to hold on to ancestral knowledge that may not be useful, but I think there's a reason that we evolved that way, because it's a good thing to err on the side of keeping certain wisdom alive, because it may seem useless to me, but my knowledge might be limited by my personal experience.